Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. It's actually Friday, May 6th, the day after Cinco de Mayo, if I said that right. And this is it's a special interview because Fernando Rebollero and I did an interview about a year ago. And it was a great interview. We met in the magic of LinkedIn a year ago, and Fernando is going for his Ph.D. at Rutgers in biomed engineering, and things that no matter how many times and how often I talk to Fernando, I have no idea, and I never will, what he does with MEMS and nanotechnology and all this. I mean, I got a couple of degrees from Rutgers, but and we're not necessarily going to talk about that today. We're going to kind of go off into different areas, but he can touch on some of that because it's so fascinating. He's actually coming from Mexico to Southern California to New Jersey. Fernando's actually, he'll tell you all about it. He's actually in Gloucester, Massachusetts, doing an internship. So he's geographically diverse. We're just talking about snow and stuff. Fernando is so interesting beyond his background, the work he's done, and you know, to the listeners, I mean, even working in a nuclear power plant, the only one in Mexico, his background is so fascinating. And he's so charming and so learned that these are just great interviews. And Fulbright, I mean, there's so Fulbright Scholarship, so there's so much. So the interview title, Fernando Rebollero, we're going to talk about Mexican-U.S. culture positivity, and he's a wonderful mentor of students. Fulbright scholarships, his biomed, his Rutgers PhD program, future things he sees coming in technology, which again is beyond my comprehension. And then learning from nature, which I'd love to really hear about. We didn't talk about that much. So I've done my monologue, and I'm thrilled to reintroduce you, Fernando, maybe a little bio, and then we can kind of jump into things. Take it away.
For sure. Calvin, thank you so much for having me here again. In fact, as you said, like we met almost a year, a little bit more than a year, right? Like almost a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We have that interview back in December, I remember.
A year ago.
Yeah. So it's incredible. I mean, the time just flies, right? It just goes so fast. But yes, so I mean, as you said, I'm from Mexico. I'm Mexican. I was born and raised in Mexico. My home state or my hometown is called Veracruz, right? Veracruz, Mexico I consider that it's on the southeast. Most of the people say that it's south or east, right? So we're a town, it's a port. Is next to the Gulf of Mexico. Mainly, there's some industry, there's some engineering over there. There is some fishing industry too, right? And we are renowned because we are a happy people, right? So we're always happy, we're always smiling. You know, it's just good vibes only, positivity. And I think I have been able to translate, just bring that with me to Southern California, you know, to New Jersey, now here in Massachusetts. So it's have been quite a journey. You know, I think like every single adventure I decided to go for it, I just keep going north, right? From south going north and north and north. And I guess whenever I go back to Veracruz, even if it's windy or something, I don't need a sweater. I'm already used to the weather, to the climate, right? So that has been like my journey. So I have enjoyed every single day of my life so far, and just taking advantage that
Wonderful.
I can do things right and help
Sure
others.
can.
That's the main point, right? So as I did my bachelor's in electrical engineering, right, and then I decided to move on and finish my my degree, work for a little bit, and then decided to come to the US for my PhD program. As you said, I'm doing a PhD in biomedical engineering, mostly focused in microsystems and microtechnologies, right? So that's exactly what I'm doing right now. It's definitely a field, has been there for a couple of years, I would say like a couple of decades probably, but the technology just keep evolving and keep developing, and new ideas, great professors in the field, just pushing the line of this technology development, and the students are motivated and just keep pushing hard to come up with great ideas and great products. And even sometimes if there's not a product, there is only technology development, which is what the world needs to keep moving on, right? So I'm putting my little piece in that humongous puzzle of the
You sure are.
microtechnologies,
You sure are.
right?
It's funny.
Yeah.
I didn't even discuss this with you before we went on air before, but I went to a lecture in New York by Dr. Michio Kaku. He wrote The Physics of the Future. He was predicting, and that fascinated me. Of course, I didn't really understand a lot, like I don't understand you. And I didn't understand him, but and there were some things that he made simplistically. What the kind of technology that's coming. One thing that really stood out to me is in 20 years somebody's going to be shaving, and in looking in the mirror, and behind the mirror is like wallpaper that has little chips in it, and while you're shaving, and it's up and down, the whole wall is filled with chips. There's a chip that'll spot one cancer cell in your body, that first cancer cell, while you're shaving. And then you go to a doctor, and they inject this one little robot thing, nanotechnology thing, and it finds that one cancer cell and kills it. And that resonated with me. That's and it's the one thing I took away. I read most of the book, but I forgot most of it. But that resonated with me, the power of technology. We'll talk about that in a little
Correct.
bit. So first thing I'd love to talk about, and you had suggested this, is to talk about the impact of your culture within the U.S. culture, sharing the Mexican culture the best way possible. And I had mentioned to you that these last few years as a journalist, I got so involved in Latino culture, because I was a journalist, and I got involved with Latino artists all over the world. And they were doing an exhibition, and wound up doing a TV show with them, and it was lasting wonderful friendships. And not only did it expose me to Latino art, but Latino poetry, because I went into New York, and I'm just thrilled with the culture. So your thoughts on it's a big topic, but just some general thoughts.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, as I said, like, I'm proudly Mexican, right? Here in an amazing country like the US, that provide a great opportunity to me to come and try to share the way the Mexican culture is, right? So as you mentioned, I'm here with a Fulbright Scholarship, which is one of the most recognized scholarships around the globe, right? So maybe a couple dozen of students from Mexico get it every year, and then they decide to embark a new adventure because it's a completely change of culture, right? They go to every single city in the US to start the graduate programs. Just as the US citizen, they decided to move from the US to go to countries outside to learn about the culture and even to teach English sometime, right? They go as a teaching assistants and just to learn and or even study maybe like a year in another country with a different language. So the same challenges are from them, the challenges are for us, right? So in my case, you know, I first came to to the US, to Southern California for a summer. I mean, first for a summer internship, right? And I was in Los Angeles, right, which is probably one of the most diverse cities in the world, right? But apart from the diversity, talking about Mexican culture, I would say, don't believe me in the numbers, but I would say like probably 60% of the population is somehow related to the Mexican culture in LA, right? Or Hispanics. And maybe from that 60% of Hispanic, 95% are probably Mexicans, or 90% are Mexicans, right? So we are definitely all over the US, right? We are showing the way we are, right? We are interchanging our ideas and the way we think, right? So I mean, with this Fulbright program, the intention is that students come to the US and share the way they think about different topics, right? And how to interchange ideas and try to find better solutions, right? Not only between the relation of US, Mexico, the solutions for the whole world, right? We're talking about like, we're in a crazy war these days. And the best thing that we can do is be united, right? So those are the intentions of this Fulbright program, you know, and I think has been a great opportunity for me. I think I have been able to, share the way I think, the way I look at things, and learn from others too. Just as they learn from me, learn from others, right? The intention is that they learn from me in a way that they can be better, right? And I can learn from them how to be better myself, correct? I think they have been able to see how at least Mexicans like me are really hard workers, right? Like we work hard, but also at the same time we work hard, we like it, right? And we're trying to push. It's a project. We're trying to push for the best for the project, right? The best for everybody. We're not like looking only of us, like, oh, it's only need to be me, the one that needs to be successful. No, we are looking for a whole group, and we're trying to benefit everyone, right? And I hope I have been able to share that message to many people, and maybe we're gonna talk about it a little bit when we get into the topic of like mentoring.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, and I definitely have learned a lot from the US culture, right? Just as Mexicans are hard worker, I have seen how people around the US, they work really hard. They have dreams, just like anyone, right? And they really want to achieve the dream, but they need to work really hard and complete like step by step, right? Is like a long project that needs to be completed, like pieces by pieces, step by step. So I have definitely learned about that. In everything is it can be translated to anything you're doing, right? For example, if you are a student, the same, if you want to get a degree, it needs to be little by little, right? If you want to get a job, you need to work really hard to get a job, and then if you want to get a better job, you need to, keep pushing hard, be the best between a group, and then you're gonna keep moving on, right? The same with all these like cultural experience I have I have experience, right? Throughout my 4 years and a half, I have been in the US, right? 4 years and a half. I came back in July 2017, right? First to San Diego, right? And then from San Diego, I moved to New Jersey.
Right.
And now here I am in Massachusetts.
Which is it's so culturally diverse, from Southern California to New Jersey to Massachusetts. It's so culturally diverse. There's you were talking about culture. The name of this channel is Conversation with Calvin, We the Species, because I came to the conclusion we're just one species.
We are.
And we're just one species. And there are
We're
two
humans.
things that convinced me that we're really one species. When the pandemic, and how I came up with this channel, when the pandemic hit, there wasn't a spot on the planet that was safe. So we're all
Right.
one species enduring and dealing with the pandemic. That was number one. And number two, if we all aren't one species and we don't work together really quickly to deal with climate and to deal with carbon emissions, to deal with the rising of the ocean, to deal with everything, climate, then we won't be a species. So,
Correct.
and so you just kind of accentuated and saying, which, we're one species, you work hard, we all work hard, and we all have beautiful backgrounds and elements to bring to the table. And that's just, it's great stuff. And moving, there's an element to you that I just love, and it's your mentoring of students in general, and then you're mentoring students in Fulbright. I mentored students at Rutgers before the pandemic in particular. And it's funny, when students found out there was somebody who could kind of relate, even though I'm way older. In most cases, I'm a half century older than you and everybody else. And that's okay, because I could relate. But when students find out that somebody who could relate and I have a good handle on things, and they call me up, they text me, they write me, and so I was mentoring 14 students per semester, some officially through Rutgers and some unofficially. But my point, Fernando, it was one of the most wonderful experiences for me to engage young minds, which you do. Talk about the mentoring that you do. And
correct. And let me tell you a little bit about the background of the mentoring, right? It's like it's like a change, right? Like you like they do it with you, and then you just somehow you're not doing it because they did it with you. You're doing it because you like it, right? And you said like, hey, just the same way they help me, I'm gonna help back because I think it's the right thing to do, right? Sometimes are things that you want to do, and sometimes are things that you don't want to do, and sometimes there are things that are the right things to do, right? So I always have this motto, like, I think it's the right thing to do, and I think if I can help, I will help, any way possible. If even listening to you is helping you, I'm gonna stay there and listen to you, right? You want ideas, you want to interchange things, we interchange ideas. I could give you some of my feedback or comments, and we just keep pushing, as I said, right? So everything started when I was doing my bachelor's over there in Veracruz, Mexico, and I got into this fellowship. I have been blessed that I have been, almost every single fellowship I apply because of my qualifications. I'm able to get it, right? But the fact that I get it, that doesn't remove two things that are so important in anybody's life, right? Which is you always need to be grateful, right? And you always need to be humble,
Wow.
you know, and those are two things I have, you know, kept with me for 20 years of my life, which I'm 28, right? So that's something that I learned from my mother, right? She raised me by herself, and she always told me about that. You always need to be grateful. You always need to be humble, right? So those two things have been like had opened me many doors, right? So as I was telling you, I got this fellowship while I was doing my undergrad degree, and the fellowship included, apart from like small quantity of money, which was just to help students, right? The most important and valuable thing is like the program matched you with a mentor, and that mentor, it was someone that was somewhere in the world, Mexican like me, right, doing a graduate program. So I got I guess lucky or blessed that they connect me with a person which his name is Agustin, who is gonna be seeing this video. And hey, Agustin, thank you so much. Right, so Agustin was my mentor. Now is my friend. Right, Agustin was doing his master degree in UCLA, right, in Los Angeles. So while we were interchanging and knowing each other, right, through this mentoring program, he introduced me to other PhD students, also Mexicans, from USC, right? So that was the starting point of everything I have done so far. So I got in contact with them, and then, well, the opportunities came, right? And I was able to do a summer internship at USC that we're gonna talk about it, right? And from that summer internship, like my mind completely changed, and I decided to pursue my graduate program or graduate degree or a PhD, right? So that was the example, and that was just the beginning of like, I think these kind of like mentorship opportunities that you get, like, it's so unique that you can be a mentor, right? No everybody can be a mentor, right? And when you get the opportunity, you need to take it as a gift, right? Like you have the gift to mentor someone, right? To help him or help them or help her, right? You have the privilege to help others because you have either the experience, right? Or you went through the process, right? And you're trying to what? You're trying to make that person's life easier, right? The problems you face, you don't want them to face, right? You want them to avoid those problems, right? So Agustin showed me many things, and then the years passed, and I decided to become a mentor. So currently, I'm doing a different mentorship for different stages, right? From students from Rutgers, from the Honors College, for example, right? I have been helping the Honors College for 1 year and a half, almost, right? There are a few sessions that I have with undergrad students, where they have been great. They ask great questions. Most of them, they are like willing to learn from, people, the grad students, right? That they have more experience, right? Experience of life or education. So I'm really happy to share. So one thing I always learn is like, if you have the knowledge, you need to share it, right? If you keep it, that doesn't work, right? If you have knowledge, you need to share it. If you keep it, it's gonna go with you, and then it's gonna be lost, right? So that's something that as soon as I learn something, I wanna share it, right? And if that something is really hard to understand, I try to learn it and then deliver it or share it in the easiest way possible.
Great.
Right? I don't want people to, I won't say like it's waste of time. I don't want people to struggle just the same way I struggle, right? I want them just to have a straight path, right? A straight path, easy, right, for them. Is that the way I can help them? I'm gonna help them that way. So as I said, like mentoring students from Rutgers, undergrads, even students that they want to do some research. They probably talk with professors and they reach out to grad students. That have happened to me. Try to mentor the students, teach them the skill set I have learned from others, right? Because it's like a chain, as I said. So I try to teach those skills to the same students. Either it could be from undergrad students or it could be from master's students, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. You try to share as much as possible. That's the way I have been mentored at Rutgers. Now, outside Rutgers, I have been also able to mentor back in that fellowship that I was talking about, which is called Zone of Excellence from a bank in Mexico, right? Like a foundation and a bank.
Mm-hmm.
They are doing that kind of fellowship. So I also a mentor of some students. So I have been, honored to have that opportunity to be a mentor, help them. And so far, a couple of those students, or 3 students, in fact, they have been able to get renowned fellowships, including the Fulbright.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So it's just like, it's giving them the knowledge, like this is the way. I'm not saying you're gonna get the fellowship. What I'm saying, this is the way that you're gonna be more impactful, because every single student is so impactful and so unique, right? But you need to know how to show or to explore all your capabilities, right? So I'm trying to help them in a way that they can achieve their dreams or they can get whatever they're looking for, right? So it has been a good record because 3 students I have mentored, they have been able either to get a fellowship or to get into an international university outside Mexico, right? And it has been great. And I still keep in touch with them. They ask for help. It's like, hey, Fernando, one of them, he's gonna do his master's degree at USC.
Wow.
And he's asking, hey, Fernando, what are the tips and tricks about living in the US? And I give them, right? Because I don't want them to spend the time or just have the same struggles that I had, right? I just want everything that is easier for them. And then it's not a condition, but the only thing I said, like, the same way I'm helping you is gonna come out. Like, I don't need even to tell you, but I'm just reminding you, right? The same way I helped you, I hope you can help others, right?
Exactly.
And it's just a chain. And they have been able to help others, which is great, because every time they send me a message or something, they say like, hey, Fernando, I'm helping this student. I'm like, I did my job, right? I did my job.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I have been helping, students from the US, Mexican students, right? And yeah, it has been great. It's just like a great experience, and it's a way to give back in a way to not only them, for the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We talked about this the last time we met, but I'm always fascinated with how Fulbright has changed your life. It's a life changer, not only for you, but for every student who comes along and gets a Fulbright.
Correct. It has been like a life changer, right? You get like invited to these events where you meet people that are from all over the world, from countries that I didn't even know they existed, right?
Yeah, you mentioned.
I know it was, and it's not like I didn't know about those countries because I didn't want to know. It's just because we live in a world that we don't know where we live, right? So that's something I always think, like, the more we know, the more ignorant I feel, right? That's even like, that's something, a similar phrase. It was given during the speech of President JFK when they wanted to go to the moon, right?
Yes.
So he mentioned something along the lines, right? Like, the more we know, the more ignorant we are, right? And that's something like, I mean, it's good because it's not like I love to be ignorant, but I love to know more, right? So this Fulbright program has allowed me to meet people from all over the world, go to these events, right? Has been a lot like a game changer, a life changer for me, right? It was a great opportunity. It is still. I'm an alumni, a Fulbright alumni. You know, they say like Fulbright is for life, so
Mhm.
I'm still a Fulbright. I'm gonna be for life, right? And I just want to be a good example for the community, right? For the community, for the Fulbright community, and you make friends forever, right? Like I have friends in Germany, they're back in Germany, friends in Panama, right? Friends from Argentina, right? From the Middle East,
Wow.
from Africa,
Wow. It's
from
great.
all over the world, all over the world,
Great.
you know.
What a
And
great
you know,
experience.
yeah, and then you're making uh real and direct connections, right? With places you, at least I didn't think about it when I was what 10 years old. I was thinking about a lot of stuff, you know. I was thinking about maybe playing video games. I was never thinking about like I'm gonna be texting someone from Germany or
Mhm.
someone from a country, you know, in the middle of Europe, right?
It's great. Wow. Wow. Um, and do you have any thoughts, comments about changing the subject a little bit, but Mexican education, past, present, future?
Sure, yeah, definitely. Especially it's my country. I know I need to know about this. So, you know, the education in Mexico, everywhere in the world, right? Everywhere in the world, you know, the education is trying to push the boundaries, try to improve every year, right? Now, I won't say it's a problem, but the thing with Mexico is sometimes we don't have enough resources, right? And the lack of resources doesn't allow the students to completely explode their skill sets, right? Their complete knowledge, right? That's something that I would say like happened to me, right? Like maybe I was fortunate to have a professor that give me an opportunity. Is that hey, I think you are a good student, right? I think you like to ask good questions. You want to join my lab and experience what research is in Mexico, right? It was more like theoretical research, but it was still research, right? Because in some universities it's really selective, right? Some universities they have the resources to have laboratories and do research 100%. Others they have like, you know, not enough facilities, but they do something, and then other universities they don't have no facilities at all, right? So it's more about theoretical research, right? But sometimes when they want to move from the theoretical to the practical one, we don't have the facilities, right? So that's something I have noticed. We're improving, definitely we're improving, right? But I have noticed that in education in Mexico, especially higher education, right? Um, so that's something I have noticed that it's happening in my country, which we're trying to push so everybody has the same opportunities,
Mhm.
right? Now another thing I have noticed in Mexico is that the students are really brilliant, right? But sometimes they don't have the opportunities, right? They deserve, right? They try really hard. They have good grades. They have a lot of knowledge, but if you don't give the opportunities or a hand to those students, they won't be able to explore all their
Right.
capabilities,
Applied.
right? And that's something that we're trying to improve, right? We're currently lacking, right? Lack of opportunities in a really big country like Mexico, right? So that's something that even I'm really like we say like far away, which is Like you take a flight and you're in Mexico immediately, right? Like 6-7 hours. But I try, as I said, like if the way to improve that education or just to push or excite those minds to be better or to help others, if I can do that through the mentorship, that's my little, like my little piece in that big puzzle that we're trying to fill, right? In Mexico. So I try to do it in that way as much as possible, right? Now, there was another topic I wanted to talk about, the education, especially, as I said, like lack of opportunities, right? But then when students, they graduate, right? If a bunch of students graduate, they could be lawyers, they could be, business majors, engineering majors. Now the problem is like, the more students graduate, the more jobs needs to be in the market, right? And I think the job market right now is saturated everywhere, right? Now, imagine a country that has 132 million, right?
Wow.
Like Mexico, like it's like a dense populated country, right? And imagine that 30% of that population, they get graduated from a bachelor's or a graduate degree, and where are the job openings, right? So that's something that that's something that we are struggling for sure, right? And I'm saying like maybe it's not directly part of the education, but if you don't have security in a job, why you want to study then, right? So it's just like, as I said, like mentorship is a chain, it's the same thing, you have a job, then, okay, I know there is an opening for me. What degree I need this degree. I achieve the degree and then I get the job. There is no job, why am I going to study, right? And that's currently the problem, right?
Okay.
Unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know we as a whole Mexican community, we're working really hard to just, to fill those gaps, but it's not an easy job,
Not
right?
easy.
It's a whole project,
Yeah.
that probably has been there for many years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I've often said that education is the key to the world. The more you educate people, the better the world, and more peaceful. So I'm a huge fan of anything education. It's what we all need. The species needs
Correct.
education. Changing the subject a little bit. Again, I always say this to you again and again. I have no idea what you do, and it's funny. But you're so immersed in technology. What kind of technological changes and things do you see? Any like a crystal ball of technology coming? What kind of things are you envisioning in the future?
I mean, technology is just like, it's incredible. Like, we were just talking about the education problems in my country, and then at the same time the technology doesn't stop, right? So definitely there is like a boom in technology right now. I think that the boom is towards, the famous like meta universe they talk about, right? Like the meta universe, and like all these applications of like virtual reality, artificial reality, or even like mixed reality. So there's a bunch of R's now, right? So I think that's currently the main technology being developed from many companies, right? Many big names, they are working on that just to push that. And just imagine even at some point Microsoft was doing like, you know, these kind of like lenses, right? And if you go to their website, they are mainly focusing in like training, right? Like that's the way they use that to do, you know, you can train workers with these kind of devices and you don't need to put them in a classroom, for example, right? And since it's real, right? So real that they feel they are doing, if there is like a practical course, they feel they are doing things with their hands, right? Because they can maybe don't touch it, but they feel that they are doing something, right? So that's the way I think the technology is going on. But something also I have noticed is like before it was, the technology was also like based, or people were looking at, you know, nature somehow, right? Like the nature, how we can learn from the nature, or you know, the wildlife, right? And how these, for example, animals or insects, right, interact with each other, and can we learn from that way they do that, or what kind of technology they are using? Because you know, technology is, you know, it doesn't need to have electronics in it, right? Technology, it could be even an idea, right? Like an idea, and then you develop it, right? Or technology is a way to do things in a different way that's gonna be better, right? So before I used to read a couple of papers that researchers were looking at how this flower interacts at, you know, it's different nights, right? Like it's something related with the way the moon changes, you know, and the flowers change, or the flowers follow the sun, right? Or things like that. And what is the mechanism that the flower is doing that is following the sun, right? So these kind of things, I have noticed. I'm not saying they are gone, but I don't see them more like as often as I used to, right? So I think that's, you know, we need to go back to, you know, the for example, the animal kingdom, right? And we're gonna learn a lot, right? Just a good example is the way, you know, whales or sharks, right, or even rays communicate between each other under the water, right? Like how they do that, how they are miles away, right? Miles away, and they are able to communicate each other, right? How the, you know, for example, if there's someone swimming in the ocean, how a sharks know that there's someone there miles away. Like it's almost like they send like an electrical pulse, and then that pulse is coming back to them. They sense it and they know there's something there, right? Can we, you know, can we just replicate that and use it for the, you know, for the good things, right? For good things, right? Can we improve that? Can we replicate it and make it useful for the humanity, right? So that's something I think like, you know, the scientific world needs to, you know, try to go back and look at that. And I know many guys are probably doing it, but the more the better, right? Because sometimes it's so complex that you need more than one mind to figure out things, right? So it's like a, you know, it's a group. It needs to be a group of people looking at one same goal, you know, and they work together, you know, as a team, and then they come up from an idea that was just looking at an animal, you know, far away. Like, look at the way he's doing this. Can we just do it the same way? Look like it's so easy. Can we do it that easy as them? Right?
Fascinating. Fascinating. You know,
You know, and then sorry to interrupt. Just it's just like these kind of documentaries right now, you know, in the online platforms that they show animals and the way they interact as babies, or the way they move as a group, right? those kinds of documentaries, they just teach a lot. Like I love to watch those, right? Those are part of my hobbies, just to watch and learn, right? Just keep learning every single day, and it's just the same. That's the same I'm saying. Like we need to learn from nature, and can we do something with that, the way that nature behaves, for the benefit of everybody.
Great thought. Great thought. I'm amazed at the animal kingdom. In a small way, I stopped eating in respect for animals and the planet. In 1975, I stopped eating anything with 4 legs. That's my own personal commitment
Okay.
to the environment and to humanitarian reason. I'm not perfect. I do eat fish and poultry, but at least I took a positive step in the right direction for animals. I marvel at the animal kingdom. My son and daughter-in-law have a dog, and you always hear about the powers, the sense of smell of an animal, a dog, and I never really grasped it until last summer. We were watching the dog. We brought the dog to Long Island, and my son was coming back with the new baby, and the dog was in the backyard, and my son pulled up in the front of the house, got out of the car. I heard the door slam. So he stepped 1 foot out, completely in front of the house, and the dog nose went up in the air, and in 1 second smelled my son coming out of the car far away, and the dog started to run and jump, because the dog, that was so astounding for me about animals and nature.
It is. Yeah.
Wow. I know they use dogs to smell. I never could process that. Dogs that sniff for drugs and stuff, or explosives. But wow. So yeah, there is a lot of stuff to learn from nature. So kind of winding down, two quick questions. Just quickly, you spent time working when you were getting your BS degree in Veracruz. You spent time working in a nuclear power plant, the only one in Mexico. How did that? Were you scared? Working in a nuclear power plant.
I definitely was, right, because I didn't know how everything was gonna be, right. It was my first job. It was not. I didn't stay there for a long, because soon after I was able to get this fellowship, and then I decided to move on,
Okay.
right, and go for my graduate program. But it was an amazing experience. It was exciting knowing that it's the only nuclear power plant in Mexico, right? I was there as a control and instrumentation technician, right? Learning from these great minds of technicians and engineers. They have been there for many years. There is no doubt that experience just masters people, right? Like many years of experience, they know, right? It's like, that's why usually parents know more than their children, because they have the experience, right? So that's something I experienced when I was doing that kind of job, right? Like
Okay.
it was definitely challenging, learning a lot, but it was really secure. I would say it just followed all the protocols they needed to follow, right? So I was after being trained and being inside, I was not afraid.
Okay.
And I was not afraid, but I was just every single day excited to learn something new. Just like in my current job at Gloucester, right? It's the same. It's an industry. It's a big industry, and every single day I'm learning new stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, is there anything? This is a funny question. Listening to you and knowing your background and everything you've done, is there anything you can't do?
That's a great question.
It is.
There are definitely many things I can, I cannot do. But you know, one thing that I will definitely won't be able to do is stop helping others. You know, like I
Right.
will be always, I will be always trying to help people, and even when I should, maybe just because is the right way, is the right thing to do, but maybe because at that moment would be the best thing to do, right? To stop helping. I don't think I will be able to. It's just in my, it's in my character, is the way I have been raised.
It's just great. Great
Uh,
answer. Great answer.
and
I never asked that question before, but you kind of knowing you and everything you do. I felt they asked that. The last thing, you are coming back to Rutgers this summer,
correct. Yes, at the end of the summer, I'm gonna be back at Rutgers
working on your dissertation,
to
and you and
working on
I,
my dissertation, on my Ph.D. Right,
perfect.
and
You
yeah,
and I are
just
gonna
grab.
meet for lunch
Yeah,
live.
that's a plan. That's a
That's
plan.
that's the plan. No more Zoom. We're gonna meet live and in person. So,
Correct.
Fernando, once again, this has been great, and I can't thank you enough for your time, your passion, your knowledge, and the work you do with youth, because I kind of do some of that myself. You are just so delightful and amazing, and we will do this again, by the way, because it's just great stuff, and we'll keep doing this. It's a wonderful friendship, and I can't thank you enough for your time, and we will do this again. So have
For
a
sure.
wonderful weekend in Gloucester,
You
and
too.
you and I will be in touch. Thank you so much, Fernando.